The ballroom glittered with gold and greed. Under crystal chandeliers, Ryan Cole lifted his glass high, toasting his engagement to his boss, Clara James, the woman he'd chosen over the wife he once called too simple. Cameras flashed. Laughter echoed. To everyone watching, Ryan looked untouchable, the man who had just emptied his wife's $200 million account to start a new life of luxury. But across town, in a quiet office lined with old mahogany and fading family photos, Emma Cole opened a file her late father left behind, a file that changed everything. The name on the company's ownership line wasn't Ryan's. It was hers. He thought he'd stolen her fortune to build his empire. He never knew the empire was already hers. And before the week ended, the whole world would know it too. But how do you destroy a man who never realized he was standing on your ground all along? Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth, and in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The chandelier lights shimmered like falling stars over the ballroom of Cole Holdings, and the crowd's laughter rose with the orchestra's swell. But at the center of it all, Ryan Cole's voice thundered through the mic, proud, polished, commanding. To 10 years of growth, and to the woman who believed in this company as much as I do, he said, smiling toward Clara James. His boss, a woman with golden hair, a champagne dress, and eyes that calculated before they blinked. The crowd applauded, thinking it was charm. At the side table, Emma Cole, Ryan's wife, smiled faintly, her silver gown modest beside the glitter. Her beauty wasn't the loud kind. It was quiet, the kind that looked like grace held together by patience. But tonight, patience hurt. Her heart twisted as Ryan's hand rested on Clara's shoulder a second too long. Cameras flashed. Guests whispered. Emma's fork froze midair. She noticed Clara's hand sliding a phone under the table and Ryan's phone lighting up seconds later. Under-table texting. The crowd didn't notice, but Emma did. Her phone buzzed next. She reached for it, expecting a message from her son's babysitter. Instead, her screen filled with bank alerts. $10M withdrawal approved. Then another, and another. $50M, $70M, $100M. Her vision blurred. Heart pounding. She refreshed the app. The final line hit like ice. $200M, account balance, $0. The music didn't stop, but it felt like it did. Ryan raised his glass, smiling toward the guests. To loyalty, he said, and the crowd laughed, unaware of the knife beneath the toast, the anniversary toast hypocrisy. Emma's breath caught. She stared at the man she'd once trusted with everything, a man who now looked like a stranger, wearing her husband's face. She tried to stand, but her knees trembled. No one noticed. She was just the CEO's wife, the housewife belittled, the too simple woman the tabloids called lucky. In the reflection of the champagne glass, she saw public mask versus private cruelty, his charming grin hiding the betrayal only she could see. She whispered to herself, he wouldn't, but deep down, she knew he would. Ryan had changed since Clara came. Financial betrayal wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. As applause filled the hall, Emma slipped her phone into her clutch and quietly stepped out. The cold marble beneath her heels echoed like warning bells. Outside, she stopped near the company's glass wall. Through it, she could still see Ryan laughing with Clara. The crowd adored them, power and beauty in perfect form. Her reflection stared back, trembling, broken. Then, slowly, her eyes hardened. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive labeled Cole Holdings Audit. Her late father had given it to her years ago, saying, if you ever doubt him, check the numbers, not his words. Emma's lips parted with realization. He hadn't just betrayed her, he'd declared war on everything her father built. She turned toward the glass doors, her heels clicking in rhythm with her heartbeat. Behind her, Ryan's laughter rang like mockery. Ahead of her, silence and answers. Her phone buzzed again, one last alert from the bank. Suspicious transaction flagged. Please verify account owner identity. Emma's eyes narrowed. Then let's verify, she whispered. The coffee machine hissed and died mid-brew. The kitchen lights flickered as if the house itself knew something was wrong. Emma Cole stood barefoot on the cold tile floor, staring at her phone screen, the one word glowing like a wound. Balance. $0. Her hand trembled as she scrolled through the long list of transactions. $200 drained, all marked under one name. Ryan Cole. Each withdrawal time-stamped between midnight and dawn. Late-night withdrawals. Unexplained expenses. Offshore account routing codes she'd never seen. "Mom?" Eli's small voice came from the hallway. The boy's curls stuck out wildly, pajamas covered in dinosaurs. "Why are you crying?" Emma wiped her cheeks quickly and forced a smile. "Just tired, honey. Go finish your cereal, okay?" He nodded and disappeared, but his question hung in the air like smoke. She pressed her phone to her ear, calling Ryan. 1 ring, 2. Then his recorded voice. "Ryan Cole here. Leave a message." She tried again. Nothing. Then her phone buzzed a text message breakup. "Ryan, don't call me. Don't text me. This isn't working. You're a dead weight, Emma. You'll be fine without me." Her breath left her body. Dead weight. The same phrase he'd used last month during a fight about her staying home after her father's death. "You're too simple for my world," he'd said. "Let me handle the business." Emma sank into a kitchen chair, her mind racing. The illusion of a perfect marriage shattered all at once, the anniversary toasts, the photos, the polite smiles for the board dinners. All of it had been a mask hiding his financial betrayal. She opened the mail on the counter, overdue bills pile, mortgage notices, unpaid school fees. Then the electricity warning. Her breath came shallow. Survival spiral had begun. A knock on the window startled her. Marla Benson, their elderly neighbor, waved from outside, her robe patterned with lilac flowers. Emma opened the door weakly. "Sweetheart, you look pale," Marla said, stepping in. "You okay?" Emma hesitated. She'd never told anyone about their problems. But when Marla's kind eyes met hers, something inside cracked. "He emptied everything," Emma whispered. "All of it. Our savings, our business account, everything my father built." Marla's jaw tightened. "Oh, honey, I always told you. Some smiles hide knives." The words stung with truth. Emma forced a shaky laugh, but tears followed. Marla placed a hand on her shoulder, silent, knowing comfort meant more than advice. From the table, Emma's phone buzzed again, an unknown number this time. "Incoming call. Delvin, Westview Bank manager." She answered, voice quivering. "Yes, Mrs. Cole," the banker said, uneasy. "We detected forged signatures on the last transfers. We need you to come in for verification." Emma froze. Forged. He hadn't just taken the money he'd pretended to be her. She whispered, "Thank you, I'll be there." When she hung up, the kitchen felt smaller, the walls closing in. The sound of Eli humming from the living room grounded her reason to keep breathing. Her tears dried into resolve. She looked out the window toward the city skyline, the glass tower of Cole Holdings glinting in the morning sun. "You called me dead weight, Ryan," she murmured, "but I carried you farther than you ever deserved." She picked up her coat, grabbed her car keys, and slipped the flash drive labeled Cole Holdings Audit into her purse. The camera pans to her phone, vibrating again, a new message flashing on screen. Unknown sender. "If you want to know where your money went, check the island registry under Clara James." Emma's eyes widened. Her whisper cut the silence. "He didn't just steal from me. He's marrying her." As she steps out the door, her reflection catches in the hallway, mirror her father's portrait behind her, faint but watching. The caption under it reads, "Ownership means silence until the truth speaks." Thunder didn't roar that night, it was silence that screamed. Emma sat alone in her parked car outside Westview Bank, the same building her father once took her to when she was barely 20. The city lights glimmered on the glass, cold and sharp like the truth she was about to face. Her phone screen still showed Ryan's forged signature. He hadn't just stolen her money, he'd stolen her name. She pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, trying not to break again. Then she whispered, "Dad, what did you see that I didn't?" The words opened a floodgate. Her mind drifted back to 10 years earlier, to a hospital room filled with the faint smell of antiseptic and paper roses. Charles Hale, her father, founder of Hale Enterprises, lay weak but smiling, his hand gripping hers. His voice was low but firm. "Emma, people like Ryan love power, not people. So promise me you'll keep the shares under your name. Don't let anyone know. Not even him. If he ever forgets who you are, let the papers remind him." At the time, she'd laughed softly, calling him dramatic. Now those words burned like prophecy. A knock at the hospital door back then. Mr. Miller, the family's lawyer, gray-haired but sharp-eyed. He'd slid an NI envelope across the table. Transfer documents naming Emma as 51% owner of Hale Enterprises, rebranded years later as Cole Holdings after the merger Ryan pushed for. Charles's last words echoed now through memory. "You're not just my daughter, Emma. You're the company's spine. Stay quiet until you need to be loud." She hadn't realized silence could be a weapon until tonight. Back in the present, she opened her glove compartment and pulled out that same envelope, worn, creased, but untouched. Inside were the original ownership certificates and her father's handwritten note. Her tears fell onto the ink. She could almost hear him again, teaching her business terms at the kitchen table, how to spot forged documents, how to follow paper trails, how to recognize embezzlement patterns before they grew roots. He'd taught her survival disguised as bedtime stories. She whispered, "You trained me for this." The camera panned to the rearview mirror. Ryan's reflection appeared in memory form. Their wedding day replayed in flashes. The vows, the laughter, the too simple taunt he'd whispered when he thought the microphone was off. "You'll look cute in my shadow," he'd said. She clenched her fists now. Not anymore. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "He's at the main office right now. Clara's with him. They're celebrating your silence." Emma's eyes flicked toward the towering Cole Holdings building, glowing in the distance. Her reflection in the glass wasn't the trembling woman from last night. It was her father's daughter, ready, calm, and burning inside. She folded the documents, placed them into her purse beside the flash drive labeled Cole Holdings Audit, and started the engine. As her car merged into traffic, headlights caught a billboard ahead. Cole Holdings Annual Board Meeting. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hosted by CEO Ryan Cole and Chairman Clara James. Emma's lips curved into a whisper. "Then tomorrow, I speak." At a red light, she noticed a man in a suit watching her from across the street, camera in hand, snapping photos of her license plate. Her breath hitched. She didn't know yet that Ryan had already hired someone to keep tabs on her. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to do it now. Every click, every share, every comment helps us keep telling stories that give strength to women and children who've been broken, forgotten, or silenced. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're standing beside survivors, saying their stories matter. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story that could change a life. And in the comments, tell us where are you watching from, and what part of this story spoke to your heart. The elevator doors slammed open like gunfire. Emma stepped out, her heels echoing through the marble lobby of Cole Holdings. Heads turned. Conversations froze. The employees who once smiled at her now whispered behind screens. Her soft blue coat fluttered behind her like a flag of defiance. At the far end of the hall stood Ryan Cole, the man who had emptied their $200M fortune and called her a dead weight. He stood beside Clara James, laughing the laughter of someone who believed he'd won. Emma walked straight toward him. "Ryan," she said, her voice steady, too calm for the storm behind her eyes. He looked at her as if she were a stranger who'd wandered in by mistake. "Emma, you can't be here," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This is a professional environment." "Professional?" she echoed, holding up a folder. "Then maybe you can explain these forged documents bearing my name, my account, my signature." The crowd's murmurs thickened like fog. Phones came out. Screens recorded. Ryan's smile stiffened. "We'll discuss this privately," he hissed. But Emma's voice rose calm, precise, and public. "You forged my approval to transfer every cent my father left me. You took it, and you celebrated your theft in front of these same people." The board members gasped. Clara's perfect posture faltered, just slightly. Ryan's mask cracked. "You're delusional," he spat. "You're just a housewife living off my success. You don't even understand what those numbers mean." The insult landed like a slap. But Emma didn't flinch. "Then tell me why your own signature on these wires doesn't match your bank ID." She dropped a printed page on the table. "Forensic ink variations proof." Clara stepped forward, voice dripping sweetness. "Emma, darling, don't embarrass yourself. Ryan has done everything to help you. You're confused." Emma turned to her. "Confused? I watched my husband humiliate me in public, call me weak, while he drained what generations built. You stood beside him and smiled. The crowd had gone silent, now no one moved. Even the security guards hesitated, unsure which side they were supposed to stand on. Ryan tried to recover his charm. "Emma, listen, you don't want to do this." She cut him off. "I already did." She placed a flash drive labeled Cole Holdings Audit on the conference table. Every falsified transaction, every offshore account, every fake invoice tied to your name. The sound of the tiny object hitting the glass table was deafening. Ryan's jaw tightened. He motioned to the guards. "Escort her out. Now." The guards moved, hesitating. Emma stepped back, lifting her chin. "You can throw me out of this building, Ryan. But remember this, it still bears my father's name." The guards escorted her through the lobby as employees whispered. Just before the elevator doors closed, Clara leaned in toward Ryan and whispered, "She knows too much." Ryan's voice dropped, sharp and panicked. "Then make sure she doesn't find the dawn. Rest." As the elevator descended, Emma glanced at her phone. A new text popped up from an unknown sender. "Meet me tomorrow. I have proof of where your money went and who helped him." She whispered, "Proof." And for the first time, her fear turned into fire. The front door slammed open under the weight of another envelope. Red letters screamed across it. "Final notice. Eviction warning." Emma bent down slowly, the paper trembling in her hands. She didn't need to open it. She already knew. The mortgage, the bills, the overdue school fees, all unpaid. The fridge hummed weakly behind her, nearly empty except for milk and 2 eggs. She walked to the kitchen table and dropped the letter beside a stack of others, each one a reminder of how far she'd fallen. Her phone screen lit up with another unpaid balance alert. The number 0 glowed like mockery. Eli peeked from the hallway, clutching a worn teddy bear. "Mom, did they bring more mail?" Emma forced a smile. "Just some letters, sweetheart." He shuffled closer, small eyes studying her face. "Are we poor now?" The question stabbed deep. Emma's voice cracked. "No, baby. We're just waiting for what's ours." Eli nodded, satisfied, and ran back to his crayons. His drawing on the floor showed a tall building with the words, "Daddy's Office," crossed out in red. The doorbell rang again. A man in a brown jacket stood outside the bill collector, his expression polite but tired. "Mrs. Cole, I'm sorry, but unless the balance clears by Friday, utilities will be disconnected." Emma nodded, too numb to argue. "Thank you," she said softly. He hesitated before walking away, leaving her standing in the doorway of a house that suddenly felt foreign. She sat back at the table, the late afternoon sun streaking through the blinds. Dust floated in the air, dancing over the piles of overdue bills, mortgage fraud letters, and unpaid school fee reminders. Her trembling fingers brushed the flash drive labeled Cole Holdings Audit. The silence was suffocating. Emma pressed her palms to her eyes, finally letting go, sobs shaking her shoulders. It wasn't the money, it was the betrayal. The public mask versus private cruelty that she'd believed was love. The man who had sworn forever had taken not just her wealth, but her peace. Through the haze of tears, she heard a knock at the window. Marla Benson stood outside again, holding a small casserole dish. Emma opened the door. "Sweetheart," Marla said, setting it down. "You haven't eaten. The whole neighborhood's talking, but I told them you're not finished yet." Emma smiled weakly. "Thank you, Marla." Marla leaned close, lowering her voice. "Listen, I know someone at the bank. Retired now, but sharp as ever. He might help you trace those missing funds. He hates dirty money men." Emma's eyes lifted, the first flicker of hope breaking through. "What's his name?" "Harris Ward," Marla said. "Old friend of your father's." Emma froze. She remembered the name from childhood, her father's trusted ally lawyer. Marla placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Call him. He'll help." As Marla left, Emma turned the lights off and stared out the window into the dark street. Across the road, a black sedan sat idling, headlights off, engine faint. A shadow moved inside, watching. Emma's whisper filled the silence. "He's already keeping tabs on me." Her phone vibrated on the table, lighting up the room for a split second. The message read, "Unknown number. If you want to fight back, come to the old bank on Lincoln Street. Midnight." Emma picked up the keys, eyes steady now. "Then let's begin." The old Lincoln Street bank stood like a ghost, windows boarded, paint peeling, and the cold wind whispering through cracks. Midnight air bit at Emma's skin as she stepped out of her car, gripping her purse tight. Her headlights cut across the crumbling sign. Hale Trust and Savings, her father's first bank. The front door creaked open before she could knock. Inside stood Harris Ward, tall and weathered, with gray hair and eyes sharp as a hawk's. He wore a long coat, his expression calm but calculating. "Emma Hale," he said quietly. "I was waiting." She froze. No one had called her by her maiden name in years. He stepped closer. "Your father warned me this day might come. You've been robbed by your own husband." His words landed heavy. "You knew?" she asked, trembling. "I suspected. Your father made me trustee of his backup records. The minute those forged signatures appeared, the system flagged them." He motioned her inside, where two more people waited. Nora Chen, a young forensic bank analyst with sharp glasses and a tablet glowing blue, and Cal Ross, a private investigator with tired eyes and a calm intensity. Nora spoke first. "We pulled transaction data from the offshore accounts. Your husband funneled the $200M through shell companies overseas. He also listed you as a partner on a company that doesn't exist. Classic money laundering trail." Cal dropped a folder on the dusty counter. Photos, receipts, and timestamps. "He wasn't working alone," he said. "Someone inside your father's old firm helped him forge the property documents. We're still tracing who." Emma leaned against the counter, trying to steady herself. "So he didn't just steal from me. He built a web." Harris nodded. "A web built on arrogance. But webs unravel fast when you pull the right string." He opened a worn file labeled Hale Enterprises, Original Charter. Inside were her father's sealed ownership certificates, signed and notarized. "You are still the majority shareholder of Cole Holdings. The merger never nullified your claim." Her breath caught. "So legally," Harris smiled faintly, "legally, Ryan is working for you. He just doesn't know it yet." The words filled the air like thunder after a long drought. Emma's tears blurred, but her jaw tightened. The pieces finally connected. She looked at Harris, voice steady. "Then, we expose him." Nora nodded. "We'll need an airtight case paper trail audit. Forged documents exposed, witnesses ready. Every receipt matters." Cal slid her a small recorder. "He won't go down easy. Record everything. Every call. Every meeting. We'll make sure the evidence burns him clean." Emma held the recorder tightly. Her reflection in the bank glass showed a woman reborn, not broken, but sharpening. Cal's phone buzzed. He frowned and turned the screen toward her, a blurry image from a hotel camera. Ryan Cole and Clara James holding champagne glasses under a banner that read, "Engagement Party. Tomorrow night." Emma stared at the photo, eyes narrowing. "Then tomorrow," she whispered. "We crash their celebration." Harris placed a protective hand on her shoulder. "Be careful, Emma. Clara's not just a mistress, she's an investor's daughter. And she plays dirtier than Ryan ever could." The sound of champagne corks bursting filled the grand ballroom of the Hamilton estate. Crystal chandeliers bathed everything in gold light, and laughter rolled through the crowd like a wave. But beneath the shimmer and smiles, the air carried something rotten, the scent of public mask versus private cruelty. At the center of the room stood Ryan Cole in a black tuxedo, holding a glass high. "To new beginnings," he announced. "To love and loyalty." The crowd erupted in applause as Clara James, radiant in silver, looped her arm through his. Her laugh was polished, her eyes sharp like someone already rehearsing for a throne. In the corner near the bar, a woman in a dark velvet dress watched quietly Emma Cole. Her hair was tied back, her posture calm, but her eyes were cold steel. No one recognized her. Not with the new haircut, not with the confidence in her gaze. She looked less like a broken wife and more like a storm that had learned to walk. From her clutch, a hidden wire connected to a recording device Cal Ross had given her. His voice echoed faintly in her earpiece. "Stay near them. I've synced the mic to pick up their conversation. One word, and I'll have them recorded for good." Emma moved slowly through the crowd, blending in among investors and board members, hearing the whispers. "She's the new Mrs. Cole. Finally someone with vision. He was smart to trade up." The word stung but didn't break her. Every insult was a reminder of why she was there to expose them both. Ryan's laugh carried across the room again. "Clara, you saved me from a parasite. Now, together, we'll build an empire the world will remember." "Parasite," The same word he'd thrown at Emma when he emptied her accounts. Clara giggled, resting her hand on his chest. Everything I have is yours now, Ryan. Even my father's investors. That was the sentence Emma needed. The final proof, a marriage for status scheme, a plan to merge assets through deception. Cal's voice buzzed softly. We got it. Keep recording a few more minutes. Emma took a sip of champagne, forcing a smile. Memories flickered her father's dying hand. His words, stay quiet until you need to be loud. The music swelled. The photographer called for a group shot. Emma slipped closer, standing behind the crowd just as Ryan wrapped his arm around Clara. The flash captured their grin and her reflection in the mirror behind them, staring straight into the camera. Ryan turned slightly, frowning. Something about the woman near the bar felt familiar. But before he could react, a reporter's camera light hit him in the face. Mr. Cole, is it true the company's merger papers were forged? Lisa Torres asked. Microphone raised. Ryan blinked. What, who? He told you that? Lisa smirked. A source close to the owner. Ryan's smile froze. Owner? He repeated. Emma slipped through the exit, her heels echoing against the marble floor. Outside, Cal waited in the car, handing her the flash drive. It's all recorded, he said. She looked back at the glowing ballroom. Good. Tomorrow, the board will hear the truth. As she got into the car, her phone buzzed. A message from Harris Ward. Meet me at dawn. The court date's set, and they don't know yet who filed it. Emma's lips curved. Let them celebrate tonight, she whispered. Tomorrow, the empire burns. The computer speakers crackled as Emma pressed play. The sound of clinking glasses filled the dimly lit office, followed by Ryan's laughter, cold, arrogant, triumphant. To us, he said on the recording, voice slick with pride. To the smartest heist in corporate history. The lights flickered as Harris Ward leaned over the desk, jaw tightening. Play that part again, he said. Emma rewound. The audio replayed Ryan's voice blending with Clara James's silky tone. Once the merger's finalized, Clara whispered, we'll move the funds to the Cayman branch. Her name will stay on paper, but she'll never see a dime. Harris exhaled slowly. That's money laundering, forged documents, and embezzlement patterns all in one conversation. This is your ticket to take them down. Nora Chen, sitting across the room, scrolled through data on her tablet. Their transactions match the timestamps from this audio. Offshore routing numbers lead back to a shell company named Silver Finch Holdings, registered under a fake address in Delaware. Emma's fingers clenched the edge of the desk. Silver Finch. She remembered seeing that name once buried in her father's original merger papers. That's one of my father's dormant firms. He built it as a safety vault for future expansions. Harris looked at her. Then they used your father's company to steal from you. Secret storage of lies, Emma. But now it becomes evidence gathering. The rain outside began to fall harder, tapping against the glass like a ticking clock. Cal Ross entered the room, carrying a thin folder. His eyes were tired but focused. The party's footage made headlines. Reporters are already whispering about the forged merger. But there's something bigger. Clara's father's firm was one of the investors in the coal takeover. He's on the board. Emma turned slowly. Meaning? Meaning if you expose Ryan, you don't just ruin him, Cal said. You drag her entire family's empire into light. Poetic justice for what they did to your father's name. The realization settled in like thunder. The scale of the betrayal wasn't just personal, it was generational. Harris leaned closer, his tone lower. Tomorrow, you walk into that boardroom as the rightful owner. You'll need confidence, evidence, and timing. We'll send this audio to the Financial Crimes Unit right before you arrive. That way, when he opens his mouth, the officers will already be on their way. Emma nodded. Her eyes were steady now, not wet with tears, but bright with quiet fire. He took everything, thinking I'd stay silent. He forgot who taught me. Silence can roar. The rain slowed to a hush. The group fell quiet as the recording reached its end. Ryan's voice, soft and smug. By this time next week, Emma will be broke, forgotten, and gone. I made sure of it. Emma's voice cut through the silence. No, Ryan. By this time next week, you'll wish you never met me. Cal's phone buzzed suddenly, an unknown number. He frowned, answered, then looked up at Emma, face pale. They know, Emma. Someone tipped them off. Ryan's lawyer just filed an emergency motion to freeze your shares. Harris grabbed his coat. Then we move faster. Tomorrow's not just about exposure, it's about survival. He looked at Emma. Be ready for war in that boardroom. The printer whirred violently, spitting out page after page of evidence. The small office looked like a war room, papers covering every inch of the table, laptops glowing, coffee cups forgotten. Emma Cole stood in the middle of it all, scanning one final page while Harris Ward circled red marks on a chart. This is it, Harris said. Every forged signature, every falsified contract, every offshore account. We can link the money flow from Clara's father's investment firm directly to Ryan's secret transfers. Emma took a deep breath. So it's airtight? Airtight enough, Nora Chen said, tapping her keyboard. But they'll try to spin it. We need the paper trail audit to match the company's official financials. I've already cross-referenced their shell companies overseas. The numbers don't lie. Cal Ross leaned back against the window, rubbing his temples. Ryan's already filed to freeze your shares. That motion hits the court tomorrow at 9 a.m. If the judge signs it first, they'll strip you of voting rights before you walk into the boardroom. The room fell silent. Only the ticking wall clock filled the air. Emma looked up from the documents. Then we file before them. Harris turned to her. We? Yes, we. Her voice was calm but fierce. I'm done hiding. I'm the majority shareholder. I'm taking back my father's company, and I'll do it legally, publicly, and permanently. Harris nodded slowly, a proud half-smile crossing his face. That's your father's spirit talking. Nora handed Emma a sealed envelope. These are the bank statements flagged by the anti-fraud unit. I spoke with a contact inside the Department of Financial Crimes. If you deliver this directly to Judge Reynolds, he'll fast-track your injunction. Emma hesitated. Won't that tip Ryan off? Cal shook his head. No. They think you're too broken to fight back. That's their weakness. They underestimate you. A gust of wind hit the window hard, rattling the blinds. Emma's hair shifted, the soft lamplight catching the resolve in her eyes. I'm not their victim anymore, she said quietly. I'm their reckoning. Harris gathered the signed pages into a folder, stamped confidential, case 4721B. Tomorrow, we deliver this. Tonight, you rest. But Emma shook her head. No. Tonight, I study. If I'm walking into that boardroom, I'll walk in as the woman they thought couldn't read their lies. Nora smiled faintly. Then you'll bury them with their own paperwork. Cal chuckled dryly. Remind me never to cross you, Emma. She gave him a small smile. Just don't betray me. The group laughed softly, the tension breaking for a brief moment before Harris's phone buzzed. He read the message and went pale. He looked up. They moved the investor dinner. It's tonight, not tomorrow, and it's being live-streamed. Emma froze. Then tonight, the whole world will watch them fall. As the lights dimmed, the printer beeped again, one last page sliding out. Unsigned but stamped Cole Holdings. Legal notice pending. The words glowed under the desk lamp. As Emma whispered, "Let the cameras roll." The sound of glasses clinking echoed through the ballroom of the Imperial Grand Hotel. Cameras flashed as servers weaved between tables filled with millionaires, investors, and journalists. At the center, beneath a glowing chandelier, Ryan Cole stood in a crisp white suit, the picture of power and arrogance. To rebuilding what was lost, he said, raising his glass. To a $200M revival, and to my fiancée, the woman who made it possible, Clara James. Applause filled the air, followed by champagne toast hypocrisy. But as he smiled for cameras, the ballroom doors opened with a soft hiss. Every head turned. Emma Cole stepped in, dressed in a sleek black gown, her expression unreadable, her calm sharp enough to cut glass. She walked slowly through the crowd, heels striking the marble floor like a heartbeat. The guests whispered, "Is that? I thought she disappeared. She looks different." Ryan's smile froze, the color draining from his face. Clara's hand on his arm tightened. Emma stopped at the head table, her eyes steady on Ryan. "Don't stop the celebration," she said softly. "After all, this is your big night." Ryan cleared his throat, trying to recover. "Emma, you shouldn't be here." "I know," she replied, placing a sealed envelope on the table. "But I couldn't miss watching a man toast with stolen money." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ryan's jaw flexed. "Security. Sit down," she interrupted, voice calm but commanding. The tone froze the guards in their tracks. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a small flash drive, setting it next to the envelope. Inside this are your own forged documents, falsified contracts, and recordings of your money laundering trail. I believe your investors deserve transparency. A murmur swept across the room as Harris Ward appeared near the entrance, holding a file. These are certified by the Department of Financial Crimes, he announced. Everything Mrs. Cole just said is true. Clara tried to stand. You can't prove anything. Emma turned toward her, calm as ever. You should have thought of that before bragging about the Cayman branch on a hot mic. Clara's face went pale. You recorded. Ryan slammed his fist on the table. You planned this. Emma's eyes met his. No, Ryan. You did. You just never realized who you were stealing from. Silence. Then chaos. Cameras flashed. Reporters stood. Investors whispered. Ryan reached for the flash drive, but a hand clamped down on his shoulder. Detective Lee stepped forward, badge glinting under the chandelier. Mr. Cole, you're under arrest for corporate fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. The crowd gasped as handcuffs snapped, echoing across the hall. Clara screamed. Ryan turned toward Emma, voice trembling. You set me up. Emma leaned in slightly. No, I just showed them the truth. As Ryan was dragged away, Clara lunged for the table, tearing open the envelope, revealing a single document stamped Cole Holdings, ownership transfer. Emma Hale Cole, majority shareholder. The camera zoomed in on her face as realization dawned. Harris leaned toward Emma and whispered, The courtroom's next. He'll fight back. Desperate men always do. Emma's gaze never left the flashing cameras. Then I'll make sure the world watches that too. The flashbulbs erupted like a storm of lightning. Reporters shoved microphones forward, shouting over one another as Ryan Cole, once the golden face of Cole Holdings, stood in the center of the ballroom, handcuffed, pale, and trembling. Mr. Cole, is it true you forged your wife's signature? Did you really embezzle $200 million? Are you admitting guilt? Each question hit like a bullet. Ryan's chest rose and fell rapidly, his once proud smile gone. Cameras flashing, investors whispering. Contracts canceled. The empire he built on lies was collapsing before his eyes. Detective Lee gripped his arm. You have the right to remain silent. Clara James stumbled backward, her diamond earrings catching the light. This is a mistake. My father will fix this, she screamed, but her words drowned in the roar of media chaos. Emma Cole stood by the marble staircase, composed, her hands clasped calmly in front of her. The storm raged around her, but she was still steady as justice itself. Ryan's eyes darted toward her. Emma, please. His voice cracked, desperate now. Tell them this isn't true. Tell them I didn't mean to. She met his gaze, her tone level and clear. You didn't just take money, Ryan. You took trust. And that's something no court can give back. He shook his head violently. I built everything. You'd still be nothing without me. Harris Ward stepped forward, holding up a folder. Correction, you built everything for her. The company, the accounts, even your position existed under her ownership. He handed documents to the officers. Signed proof of her majority control in your forged contracts. Ryan's face crumpled as the reality struck him. No. Behind them, the investors started murmuring, louder this time. He lied about his stake. We invested under false data. Pull every contract. Emma turned slightly, watching the panic ripple through the room. Reputation, implosion. Empire collapses overnight. Clara's phone buzzed. She looked down the headline, already live. Cole, Holdings CEO arrested for fraud, wife secretly owns company. She dropped the phone, face draining of color. Detective Lee gestured toward the hallway. Take them both. As handcuffs snapped again, Clara shouted, This isn't over. But her voice trembled, no longer power, just fear. The reporters followed the officers out, their questions echoing through the glass halls. The ballroom, once dazzling, now felt hollow. Chairs overturned, spilled champagne staining white linen like blood. Emma exhaled slowly. Harris touched her arm. It's done. She shook her head gently. Not yet. The cameras saw his fall. Now, the court will see the proof. Harris nodded. Judge Reynolds confirmed the hearing. Tomorrow morning. Emma looked toward the shattered glass doors, where Ryan had been led away. In the distance, police sirens wailed through the city night. She whispered, Tomorrow. The gavel falls. Outside, one last camera flash caught her face, the photo that would headline every paper by morning, the wife who owned it all. But beneath her calm smile, her hand tightened around the flash drive. There was one file left unopened, one name she didn't recognize. The gavel slammed against the wooden desk, a sound so sharp it silenced the courtroom. "All rise," the bailiff called. The crowd stood as Judge Reynolds, a stern man in his 60s with silver hair and calm authority, took his seat. Case 4721 B. The People versus Ryan Cole, he announced. Charges: forgery, fraud, and embezzlement totaling $200 million. Emma Cole sat in the front row, her hands clasped tightly together. On the other side, Ryan sat between two defense lawyers, face pale, eyes hollow. Gone was the confident man who once toasted to power. Now he looked smaller, crushed beneath the weight of truth. The courtroom lights glared, reflecting off the polished wood. Reporters filled every seat behind the railing. Harris Ward stood beside Emma, a quiet pillar of resolve. "Your Honor," said Prosecutor Mason, stepping forward, "we present Exhibit A, the defendant's own voice admitting to forged documents, money laundering, and the intention to defraud investors." The audio began to play. Ryan's laughter echoed through the room. "Once the merger's finalized, she'll never see a dime." The jury's faces hardened. The whisper of disgust rippled through the audience. Clara James sat a few rows back, clutching her purse, her eyes darting to the exit like a cornered fox. Judge Reynolds turned toward Ryan. "Mr. Cole, do you wish to make a statement?" Ryan's voice cracked. "It was all business, misunderstood." The judge cut him off. "Business built on forged contracts and embezzlement patterns isn't business, Mr. Cole. It's theft." Emma watched silently, her heart pounding. She had dreamed of this moment not to humiliate him, but to finally breathe again. Harris stood, holding up the final document. "Your Honor, this is proof of majority ownership of Cole Holdings under Mrs. Emma Hale Cole, signed and notarized by her late father, Charles Hale." Ryan Cole was never the legal owner. Gasps filled the courtroom. Cameras clicked rapidly. Judge Reynolds adjusted his glasses, reviewing the paper. "So, Mr. Cole stole from the very person who owned everything he claimed to build." Ryan slumped forward. "I didn't know." Emma finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "You knew. You just never cared." Silence followed a silence so thick it pressed against the walls. Judge Reynolds nodded slowly. "The evidence is overwhelming. This court finds the defendant guilty on all counts." He lifted his gavel. "Sentencing will proceed immediately." The gavel fell again, final, heavy, irreversible. Ryan buried his face in his hands. Clara wept silently as officers moved in. The handcuffs snapped, the sound echoing like justice delivered. Emma exhaled not in triumph, but in release. Tears glimmered in her eyes, not for what was lost, but for what was finally over. Harris leaned close. "It's done, Emma." She looked toward the ceiling lights, whispering, "No, now it begins." Judge Reynolds looked at her with quiet respect. "Mrs. Cole, as rightful owner, the board awaits your reinstatement meeting. They've called for a vote tonight." Emma turned slowly, her reflection shining in the courtroom glass. "Then tonight," she said softly, "the company gets its real owner back." As she walked out, a reporter shouted after her, "Mrs. Cole, what will you do now?" She paused at the courthouse door, whispering, "Rebuild and remember." But behind her, a shadow in a dark suit watched her leave, dialing a phone. The doors of the courthouse burst open to a wall of flashing lights and shouting reporters. The air vibrated with frenzy. Microphones stretched forward, questions overlapping like thunder. "Mrs. Cole, how does it feel to take back your company? Is it true your husband stole $200 million? Will you press charges against Clara James?" Emma didn't flinch. She stood on the courthouse steps, chin high, the city's wind catching her dark coat like a banner. Harris Ward stood beside her, holding the official documents. "It feels," Emma said softly, her voice cutting through the chaos, "like justice." Behind her, the news cameras flashed, their lights painting her face in gold and white. Her calm composure drew everyone's attention, not the scandal, but the strength. The camera panned to Clara James, escorted out moments later, surrounded by officers. Her once flawless face was streaked with tears and mascara. The crowd booed, A reporter shouted, "Clara, did you help falsify the contracts?" Clara didn't answer. She just looked at Emma, hatred and regret tangled in her stare. Emma met her gaze only once. "You built your success on lies," she said quietly. "Now it's your turn to live with the truth." Clara's voice broke. "You ruined me." Emma's tone stayed even. "No, Clara, you ruined yourself." The cameras caught every word. Inside the courthouse lobby, Lisa Torres, the same reporter from the investor dinner, caught up to Emma. "Mrs. Cole, this story has gone global. Everyone's talking about the woman who owned everything her husband tried to steal. What message do you have for others in your place?" Emma paused, her eyes soft but resolute. "That silence isn't weakness. It's patience. And patience, when ready, speaks louder than revenge." The quote echoed through every network before the hour was over. Hours later, Emma and Harris stood before the board of Cole Holdings. The tension was thick. Suits whispered, phones buzzed, and the media streamed the event live. Harris opened the meeting. "As proven in court, Mrs. Emma Hale Cole retains majority ownership of Cole Holdings. Effective immediately, she resumes full executive authority." Some board members clapped, others exchanged nervous glances. Years of deception were ending under fluorescent lights. Emma stepped forward. "This company bears my father's name. It will no longer stand on greed but on integrity. Every employee who was silenced will be reinstated. Every stolen cent will be returned." From the back, a voice trembled. "Mrs. Cole?" Emma turned. Amy Brooks, a young woman with nervous eyes, stood holding a folder. I worked under Clara. I have emails and voice notes she deleted, proof of her threats and insider trades." Emma nodded slowly. "You're safe now, Amy. Bring them forward." Amy smiled through tears. "Thank you." As Amy handed over the evidence, Harris's phone buzzed. He read the message and looked up, alarm flashing in his eyes. "Emma, Ryan's sentence hearing just changed. His lawyer filed an appeal claiming the funds belonged to him." The boardroom froze. Emma's expression didn't. She simply whispered, "Then tomorrow, we finish what we started." Through the glass wall behind her, the city skyline glowed steady, golden, and waiting. The faint reflection showed Emma's calm face overlaying the words on a nearby ticker. "Ryan Cole's final judgment tomorrow." The gavel struck for the last time, and the courtroom erupted with murmurs. Judge Reynolds's voice thundered through the chamber. "Ryan Cole's appeal is denied. The evidence of forged documents, money laundering, and embezzlement patterns remains undisputed. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 20 years in federal prison." Ryan's shoulders slumped. His lawyer whispered urgently, but he wasn't listening. His eyes locked on Emma, the woman he'd once called too simple, now standing taller than ever. "Mrs. Cole," the judge continued, turning toward her, "this court acknowledges your rightful ownership of Cole Holdings and commends your cooperation in uncovering one of the most intricate cases of financial betrayal in this state's history." Applause rippled softly through the audience, restrained but powerful. Cameras flashed as reporters scribbled furiously. Emma bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Honor. My father taught me that truth doesn't shout, it endures." Across the aisle, Ryan's face twisted with disbelief. "You think you've won?" he hissed, voice trembling. "You think this makes you better?" Emma turned to him slowly. "No, Ryan. This doesn't make me better. It just makes me free." Handcuffs snapped as the bailiff pulled him back. He stumbled once, then looked up again, eyes full of regret. For the first time, he saw what the world now saw. The woman he underestimated standing where he once stood. The courtroom doors opened to a flood of daylight. The sound of camera shutters, media questions, and public murmurs filled the air. Lisa Torres approached with her recorder. "Mrs. Cole, after everything, the betrayal, the trial, the humiliation, what comes next for you?" Emma smiled faintly, her calm presence silencing even the chaos outside. "What comes next?" She looked up at the sky. "Healing. Rebuilding. Teaching my son that strength isn't in revenge, it's in refusing to be destroyed." The sunlight poured through the courthouse steps as she walked down, Harris Ward beside her. "It's over," he said softly. She shook her head, smiling through tears. "No, Harris, it's just beginning." From the crowd, Eli ran forward, his small arms wrapping around her waist. "Mom, can we go home now?" Emma knelt, smoothing his hair. "Yes, baby. Home." Reporters snapped photos, mother and son framed in light, a symbol of resilience. In the background, Ryan was led into a police van, his reflection caught in the tinted window, a final image of downfall and despair. The man who once stole everything now had nothing left but regret. As Emma turned to leave, her reflection glimmered in the courthouse glass, no longer broken, but whole. She exhaled slowly, feeling her father's words echo in her chest. Stay quiet until you need to be loud. Today, the world had heard her roar. As the sun climbed higher, a courier approached with a sealed envelope. Harris took it, reading the label aloud. Hale Foundation. Approved funding for Women's Legal Protection Initiative. Emma smiled softly. Then that's where we begin. She looked to the camera one last time, calm, proud, unshaken. Betrayal has consequences, but integrity builds empires. And with that, she walked into the sunlight, free, powerful, and finally at peace.